What's going on today, guys? It's GOG James. You're back at it with another video. I know what you're thinking. Wow, they're pretty consistent. This is the first for a while, and I would totally agree with you. But we've been working on it. We're trying to be better. We're really excited about the format where it's at right now. But with the format being so much fun and us really enjoying the game too, we're noticing that there's a lot more people starting to play the game too. So we thought, hey, what better time than now to do a top 5 budget decks? Right, and you'll notice right here next to me a different face, new face here, and that's GOG Braden, or I'll let him introduce himself, but essentially our newest member. Woo! To it. So yeah, Braden, tell us a little bit about yourself, what decks you run, what colors you like to play, and the whole nine.
My name is Braden. Also, probably gonna go by GLG Braden or GLG Kila. Probably GLG Kila for the community. But the colors combos that I really like to run are black and green, mostly, to be honest with you. I've really been playing a lot of Teach. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that,
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
but Teach and Bonnie. Mostly, I play a lot of Control. I got into the game playing Gekamora and Uta, which is not Control, but Uta was my first competitive deck. But I'm glad to be here and start running some games with everybody.
Yeah, and we're happy to have him too. Braden's been, a force to be reckoned with at our local. Whenever we match with Braden, none of us are happy. We're happy for the vibes, but we're not so happy about the games.
Yeah,
So,
the
what we
vibes
were
is
like, hey,
always
we
good.
needed him. We needed to add him. So, yeah, so we're
Yeah.
gonna get right into it, into the video here. So starting off, the deck list that we're gonna be looking at, I don't think anything ever exceeds $60, right? And that's pretty much on the higher end of the
Yeah,
lists.
I think like the closest we get to is probably like 65, maybe even 70 pushing, depending on how you want to run the deck, but nothing too crazy
Yeah, and
that break
essentially we're
the
going to go over
pushing.
to like the tier list they're in, maybe some flex spots that they have for cards that are a little bit more on the pricier side, but for the most part, like we said, it's pretty reasonable pricing.
Yeah,
So
it's definitely not great blue fee,
yeah,
so
exactly. Oh my gosh, 88 for a secret rare is ridiculous.
crazy.
Yeah. So kicking it off, we got Usopp. The pay range for this one is $12 to $20, and I know what you're thinking. Like, there's no way, but absolutely, this deck literally came out the previous set, right? OP10, and it's
Yeah.
so cheap. Like there's not too many cards that are that expensive to begin with, and the one of the flex spots that we have on there is the Rebecca, the four cost. We'll take a look at that card, and realistically, a lot of builds that I've even seen haven't even been running that. So you could even replace that just for like the Dressrosa package. So we do more emphasis like on the Frankies and some of the other cards that we'll take a look at. So
So here we have the Luffy. The Luffy is very much of a flex spot, even though it is a Dressrosa. With stage, you can swing right away, and it can swing into active characters, which is really helpful for the deck. The Rebecca, like we said, is a flex spot because of the fact that you don't really need it in a sense because you're kind of just trying to recur your Frankies and your three costs instead and try to draw that way. And then also bottoming, getting cards back in your hand isn't really it's like redundant because you are trying to stay at a low hand size as Usopp to keep drawing cards. The Red Rock is also a flex spot because you kind of do want to stay in the sense of the Dressrosa package, and you don't want to whiff. And even if you bottom deck the Red Rock, and when you really need it, it's gonna really hurt in a sense. So those are our flex spots, and everything else from the deck list
bulk.
is like on like yeah, it's not even worth listing right here, but it's
yeah,
like
it's like 10
10.
cents. Yeah.
Yeah, so like it's a $12, like $20 max. It's insane that this is a meta deck and it's $20 a
Yeah.
T.
Let alone if you want to I'd be curious to see the pricing if you want to alt it. But it's literally it is so cheap. And that Luffy, it's maybe a one or two of, right? So this is like
Yeah,
bang for your buck. I mean, I'll go back a little bit. Definitely an A minus tier, right? It's gonna be competitive.
yeah,
It wins events, it tops events, and yet so cheap. And then Braden, you want to cover this one? I know this is like your baby.
yes. This was this is my child. I've been running this deck ever since it came out. Marcel G Teach. It is surprising to me that this deck is so cheap. There's only one card in the deck that really pushes it to the $40 to $50 mark, but man, is it really oppressive. This deck can sometimes carry you through matches, like to be honest, in some cases against an L, but $40 is not that bad. Also for the flex spot, Laboon can push the budget a little bit further, but it's not a necessity. In this meta, you might need to run it, but we can go into that a little bit later.
Yeah, so looking at the cards, like Brayden said, there is one card that is a little bit on the more expensive side, and that's the finger pistol. Just through kind of conversations we've been having, it is a pretty necessary card, right?
Yes, 100%. You need this card in certain matchups. It's your way to remove bigger bodies greater than 7, even 8s, with the augers to minus, but it is very situational.
Yeah, absolutely. And but besides that, right, we're looking at the Kuzan, which is an SR, mind you, and we're looking at the 10 cost teach, which is also another SR, like 88 cents for market price, 125, right? So outside of that, we are looking at a very cheap deck. Yeah, and also too, like it's very much so competitive. Maybe not as much as it was the last format with the Grape Luffy being in the meta, but still, like you still have great matchups into certain things, right? The you're a little bit slightly favored into the Shanks matchup, right? And that's going to be one of the top decks. And this deck, like I said, it wins events, and you're gonna, like
Yeah.
Brayden also said too, like there's certain matchups that you just win. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, it feels like that sometimes.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, absolutely. And then next we got the Limb. So this is on a little bit more pricier side, guys. We're looking at 50 to 60. Still an A tier deck though. You'll see kind of on a little bit of it that top end, which is very situational too, depending upon your play style. Some people like to run the 9 cost Zoro. Some people like to run the 9 cost Shanks. I'll look at. And in place of that, you kind of just play the I think it's like an 8 cost audio, right? 8, 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, something
Yeah.
like
No,
that.
it's a nine
Yeah,
cost audio.
9 cost audio, which is still a really good option too as well, and brings your net cost down significantly. Same with the Usohachi. That is more of an expensive card. We'll see that in a second, but you can just replace that essentially for any other generic 2Ks that are available, the Apu or the Urochi, which we'll see here.
And here we have the SR Shanks, which is about $4 because it's a starter deck card. It is a very accessible starter deck, I would say, compared to the Purple Luffy, which is in this starter deck, which is Usohachi, sorry. And it gets pretty pricey because of Grape. Purple Straw Hats are usually on the pricier side, but Shanks is a flex spot if you feel so. Usohachi is also a flex spot, we would say, depending on your playstyle and also your budget. If you feel like you want to go a little bit more budget in that sense, you could replace this Usohachi with the Nami 2K, that's Dundadon, and that comes up a lot. And to be honest with you, in the Shanks matchup, to being able to stun the Rayleigh turn helps the deck substantially. And then the 3 drop limbs are very crucial for the deck to search all your Odyssey characters. Even the 1 drop rare is really important in that deck as well.
Yeah, and we're looking at this like 42 cents for an SR. If anything, this is a good
Right.
investment for the future, right?
Yeah, you should be some in some of these cards, like some of these
Yeah.
SRs that are under $1. I feel like
Just
you
pick up
should
a
be buying
playset.
these.
Yeah, you might as
Yeah,
well. You know what I mean? Like Lim, it's a great deck. At first maybe, some people were a little questionable of it,
yeah,
but overall now, it's really establishing itself as a very valuable deck and a very a playable one as well too. Doflamingo, if you've been playing for a few formats now, or if you're just starting, this is a deck that's been around since OPO1, the first set ever. So if you're one of the lucky ones that played it, that picked it up in the beginning, and you've held on to it, you've gotten some insane longevity on it. But essentially,
yeah.
too, this deck, well, you'll get the video too later, guys. But GLG Garrett, he got top 32 or top technically 33, but at one of the most recent online regionals.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
And he's been piloting the deck since we first played. So it's a really good solid deck. Like we said, pay range 55, 65 ish range. Definitely an A tier deck. And still
100%.
yeah, still super good. But the only downside is the sub spots. We really would say there aren't really much because the deck space is so tight. You want to be sure you're still running a high ratio of the 7 Warlords cards while still being able to keep other consistency cards, maybe like the Perona and stuff like that too. So that is one of the downsides. There isn't much for, too much creativity available for the deck, but nonetheless, you'll win plenty of games. Maybe even top some of your events too with it.
Yeah, the key cards here are the Buggy 2K. Most of the cards that are pretty expensive are just the starter deck cards and the Perona. The 1 drops. It's so hard to sometimes find the starter deck. That's why it's pretty expensive. But $5 isn't too bad. Um, the law as well too. Being able to bounce back your 1 drops and replay them and just resource manage.
Major point of this deck, longevity for sure. This deck has been there, and the off chance, because some card shops do have them available, and sometimes maybe you find them at a Target, but the off chance you do happen to find the starter decks, right? If you buy two of them, man, you have the whole deck for the most part. You know,
Yeah.
maybe there's a couple cards that you're missing, but overall, like you still have a very viable deck, and you know, you could take those two deck box or those two starter decks, you know, sleeve them up, right? Make a deck, get your four ofs, and you could take that to a tournament, and you can compete pretty decently.
Yeah, you'll top a couple of events
Exactly, and
in a
that
matter
brings
of
the
time.
whole cost down to like maybe $40 if you are able to snag
Yeah,
it.
yeah, we stack
Right?
those starter decks. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So
100%. Maybe pull a god pack out of it if you get lucky with those.
true.
And then what we have here is Bello Betty. Bello Betty is a $25 to $35 deck. Right now, we would say it's a B minus in the EB02 meta, but this is a longevity an investment because it does so well into Berry Luffy, which we are preparing to come into. Our flex spots here are for you can replace the 8 drop dragon for Roger. It is really we would say that dragon is a little bit better because it is searchable in this deck. But Goldie Roger, when you have a full board, is such a scary turn if you're going against that. And I feel like playing around that is so much tempo in the sense for Bella Betty, and you can just sometimes like really just steamroll your opponent as well if you can find double searcher on two and stuff like that.
Yeah, super sneaky deck. Seriously, like if you keep swinging with those cards, like the Karasu especially, you know, you can really get your opponent down to zero so fast, and then the second you just closed it out, the Goldie Roger, and it's just insane, right? Like Braden said, we do like the Dragon a little bit more because you can also give it that boost as well. Plus, giving that rested Dawn is just so valuable. You know, every swing counts with this deck. So, but yeah, no, absolutely, it's still a super great strategy. And then some of the cards we mentioned, like we said, the Dragon, right? $10, unfortunately, but you know it's a staple in red as well. So not only would you be getting a good card for this strategy, you'd be getting a good staple card that could be used in a lot of different red decks too. So I'd say if you don't have your playset, get it now for sure. And
100%.
the Koala, that's another SR. You see there was a reprint in PRB, so the price is super low right now. So if you're thinking about the deck, might as well get it. You can get a whole playset for what, $2? Sounds great.
Yeah. Also, too, you could snag some of these red cards for red black Sabo. You know, we're getting support for Koala, and it could be a sneaky red black Sabo support. No one knows.
Yeah, no, seriously. Yeah, definitely. And that's kind of another idea too of like decks that are gonna have longevity. So this is definitely one that we say, you know, would have that longevity going into the future. And yeah, like Braden said, there's a bunch of cards getting released for some of this stuff too. So, you know, only time will tell. So those are our top five.
Not in any specific order either, just in general.
Yeah, exactly. No
I like
specific
that.
order. You know, but you know, those are kind of the top five that we really think are gonna be the best bang for your buck. But we do also have some honorable mentions as well too. So some of our honorable mentions are BY Luffy, OPO6 Reiju,
Yeah.
OPO7 Calgara. Actually, it should be OPO8 Calgara, but essentially these three decks. There isn't, you know, yes, BY got hit, right? But our thought process here, like we're talking longevity here, right? Honestly, all of these, we're
Yeah.
talking longevity
Yeah,
here,
we're talking about
right?
we're trying to give you guys investments. We're not trying to give you a
Exactly.
deck that's gonna be good right now and then good for a set. No,
Exactly. Yeah.
we want to get y'all in the game for a while.
Exactly. So we're trying to get you early. So BY, they actually released that in OP13 is going to be a Three Brothers set, right? If you are around for this time frame, the Three Brothers were for the starter deck 13. There was the Ace, Sabo, and Luffy, right? So we think, you know, if they're going to be giving it support right now, it'd be a great time to start buying all those cards, right? Let's take a look at some of the more expensive ones, but essentially that'd be a great time to. And then Reiju, they just released that they're going to be releasing a blue purple Sanji leader, right? That's,
Hmm.
you know, so I mean, this could also be kind of some cards that they're going to be getting too for it.
And,
Yeah, and
and
then
recently,
yeah, go
Rage
ahead.
just topped an event. So just saying,
Yeah, maybe just
maybe.
maybe. You never know. Plus, like we were saying, you know, once that Barry Luffy kind of comes out, a lot of these fast decks kind of start to take root in the meta, and that you could be ahead of the curve, right? And then Kalgara, you may say is a hot take, you know, and I would believe you,
Yes.
but hear us out. They just released that searcher for that dude Nolan card, right? Which is a huge part of the strategy for the deck, so it could kind of fill in some of the gaps that it has. And who's to say that's the only support that they're getting? Maybe they're getting more. You know, we're
Hopefully.
gamblers out here, right?
Yeah, we are.
So
We're trying to gamble up here. We're trying to snipe some. We're trying to snipe some for you. We're trying to get you guys
exactly.
ahead of the curve. You know.
Exactly. We're helping you out. So, and then kind of just going into the more expensive cards here, we have that Rocket Luffy from OPO7. you're looking at about 345, so that's nothing. Black Maria 2 as well, another purple staple. I'd say you're looking at maybe $2, $2 to $3 with shipping,
Yeah.
maybe. And then that new Anel that just came out in EB02, that is a mandatory 4 of, I believe, or it's a higher copy. And since it did just come out, it is a little bit more expensive, but give it a week, maybe give it 2 weeks, it'll go down. Swear.
And trust us when we say this. Without the Enel, the Kagura deck is $2.
Hey, that's pretty good.
It is crazy to say that, but it is a $2 deck.
Yeah.
Almost. If you want to play Rocket Luffy, maybe even like 5. Just saying, it's insane.
No, we literally did the research, guys, for you. You don't have to. You don't even have to double check. But we did the research. Yeah, literally $2. We were shocked. So if you're looking at overall bang for your buck, I would personally put that as number one. I don't know about you,
Yeah,
but
yeah. Honestly, yeah. Put that one number one,
Yep.
even though it's in our mentions. But we're trying to snipe something. We're trying to help y'all out here, man.
exactly. For all the people that stayed to the end of the video, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's our list, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Not only to another one of our videos, but GOG Braden's first video, right? So yeah, in honor of it, we gotta have him do the outro. But first, do you have any anything you want to say real quick, or any wrap up points?
I'm just really excited to be a part of the team. It's being part of the group and being welcoming. Thank you to everybody in the group, from Ryan, Spencer, Lane, or Garrett as we know him, and Dan, and and James as well. Everybody, I'm glad to be here.
Yep. So I mean, it's your first video. You gotta do it. You gotta give us the outro.
And don't forget to like, subscribe, share with a friend, and leave a comment. I forget. I'm sorry.
The orders. I mean, you got it all down. The order a little bit much, but other than that, though,
We'll practice. We'll get some more videos.
other than that, GOG out.